All right, well, good morning, everybody. This is Jomo Stewart here at the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. We have the largest group of in-person people we've had since 2020. Yeah, so this is awesome. Thanks, guys. Our presentation for the, well, let's see, let's start with the details. What is it? It's Tuesday, June 13th, and it's 8:04 in the a.m. And our guests today are representatives of the Interior Gas Utility, here to give us our seasonal update, past activities, as well as a look forward to the summer construction season, as well as other goings, happenings, and doings. And so without further ado, let me go ahead and pull up the presentation. And if you all can give me the high sign, can you see that?
I can see it, Jomo.
Outstanding. All right, well then I will hand this over to Miss Elena. Madam General Manager, the floor is yours.
Not yet general manager. Here in the room with us, I have the general manager, Britton. I have our board chair, Gary Wilkin, and I have our newest addition to our team, Katie Yarrow. She has joined us from the Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce in the role of the customer service and marketing manager, and we're very happy to have her. So I will thank you, Jomo, for the invitation to present an IGU update today. If I can figure out how to manage this. Okay, there we go. Very close. Okay. So first, a typical update on the 2023 construction season. We have a goal this year of 600 new service lines. And as of yesterday, we had 456 approved for construction application. So an approved for construction application is a situation in which both the customer and IGU committed to each other. So we have all of their paperwork, we have their heavily subsidized installation fee, and we have committed to either installing a main line to get there, or they already have a main line that reaches their location. As you can see, the division between Fairbanks and North Pole is about a quarter North Pole new customers and 3/4 Fairbanks, and very similar division between residential and commercial. We have budgeted this year, as we have for the past several years, to install about $1 million in mainline extensions. So far, we have reached the max budget for this year, so we will not be installing any new mainline extension requests. We are about 4.5 miles of mainline committed, and that is bringing natural gas to 77 new customers. So we take an approach to where we go, where the customers are that are the closest to our service lines and the biggest concentration of consumers. We are ahead of schedule as compared to typical years in the past as far as installations go. In the past, we've started on or around June 15th. This year, our crews are mobilized earlier, and they have already installed 41 new service lines out of those 600. And they have also installed 778 feet of mainline extensions. We are, as we're starting the season, it's going at a slower rate than it will at the end of the season, as everything gets mobilized and all of our new additions get trained. But we are pretty proud of our project management and construction team.
So I already have questions.
Okay.
Would you prefer that we wait or just fire away?
Go
All right, well then that's a reminder to the gang. As always, this is for the benefit of you, the viewing public, participating public. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to unmute or and just fire away, or raise your hand, or put them in the chat. It's being monitored, excuse me. So I guess the first question I would have is, you mentioned heavy subsidy for installation. Can you give us a feel, really, can you give us a feel for kind of the delta between how much is subsidized and how much might be on the back of the the actual consumer?
Yes, so we charge $225 for a residential installation and $350 for a commercial installation. And that is about 5% of total construction cost.
Oh, I thought you meant like the borough.
Oh, we can talk about the borough subsidy as well, but
Later, if it's.
before it even gets to the borough, there is a cost of to install a new service line, and it differs between commercial and residential. But our customers only pay about 5% of the cost of their construction. There is one caveat to that though. So when everybody signs up, they sign a new service agreement, and that new service agreement says that they are allowed that subsidy unless they don't turn on within 6 months from our finishing the construction. And then if they don't, that is something that is allowed. You don't have to turn on, but then you are required to pay for the full installation cost.
So encouragement to follow through the use.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
And then on the borough subsidy, the borough has air quality programs. So all of those programs are meant to improve the air quality in the Fairbanks North Star borough. And we receive them because the borough is a non-attainment area for the purpose of air quality. And because of that, they have subsidies to switch from dirtier fuels to cleaner fuels. Natural gas is the cleaner burning fossil fuel. So there are subsidies for wood stove. There's a wood stove changeout program. And there is an oil to gas changeout program. The oil to gas pays up to $7,500 for residents or businesses to switch from a heating fuel boiler to a natural gas boiler. And the wood stove changeout program pays up to $10,000 to remove a solid fuel burning device and install. Now, I don't speak for the borough, so I don't put this in the paper, but I believe they can switch to natural gas or to heating fuel.
Okay. Okay. So substantial amount of assistance.
There is a substantial amount of assistance.
I know when I first put in my pellet stoves, it didn't cover the whole cost, but it went a long way. It was over 2/3 of the total cost.
The borough actually has this latest targeted airshed grant offers the most assistance to individuals who switch more than one device in their household. So say for a hypothetical, somebody has a pellet stove and a oil boiler. They can combine those two and install just a single boiler that's fueled by natural gas, and they receive $17,500.
Well, okay. Okay.
So they can combine in this newest targeted airshed grant, they can combine up to 3 devices for the change out of 1 device.
Okay, well, we'll talk a little later about how much slack you all may have for additional installations over the course of this build season.
Sure.
Again, with the EPA kind of looking at us pretty intently for getting our stuff together. So regarding the beginning of your build season, if I may, and this is just kind of anecdotal. You said that you normally would start June 15th for the build season, but you've gotten a jump on it. Is that something that looks progressive? Like our build season is kind of widening a bit in several years, or just I guess I'm wondering if the soils are thawing enough soon enough or earlier than they had historically.
I don't know that we've determined a trend yet in that. We did start last year a little early too, and the first part of June, our contractor had started early. Our crews didn't start in earnest till June 15th. One of the installations we did do early on was using directional drilling for a mainline extension, and we were able to drill through some still frosty soils more easily than excavate. So I don't know if I could pin down a specific defined trend yet.
Thank you. That was just kind of a curiosity question. Sure. Thanks. Again, please know, a reminder, this is for you. So again, if you all have any questions there online, please do fire away. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I am going from an update on construction to an update on our North Slope project. So as most likely everybody on the call knows, Interior Gas Utility has secured two 20-year contracts for natural gas feedstock and for the liquefaction from the North Slope. And that has a targeted commencement date of October of 2024. So this is a quick update on how that is going. So in order for us to move to the North Slope, we need some new LNG trailers, both because we are looking for trailers to have a larger capacity, and because the road to North Slope is longer than the one to Cook Inlet, so we need more on the road at any given time. So we have open and closed and a trailer RFP, and we are in the process of evaluating all of the submissions, and we will soon be awarding a contract to a trailer manufacturer. We are continuing to work on identifying a trucking solution, a trucking contractor where there's the option is still on the table for us to do it ourselves. We do not prefer that. Harvest, which is the entity that is building the LNG plant on the North Slope, has applied for and received the 850 easement for the pad and the pipeline from the Department of Natural Resources, and they have submitted their permit, and they're waiting on that to be received, and they are working on final engineering for the plant.
So Elena, when do you expect full production?
October of 24.
So they don't have to go through a NEPA process in the environmental permitting?
Not for an air permit.
No, for the construction of the plant up there.
The October of 2024 is a slightly aggressive timeline, so we have built in some slack. We are going to continue owning and operating our Titan plant even past the start of the North Slope plant. We're going to continue owning it, and we're going to keep it in warm status for the foreseeable future, just for operational redundancy. But that is the contractual commencement date.
I forget, have you said what the capacity of the North Slope plant is? Is it coming on like one train at a time, or is it all going to be there at once?
So IGU has the right for additional plants, but the original plant that is going to be built is going to be 150,000 gallons per day, which is about 3 times as much as our Titan plant produces. Yeah. We have the option within our contract to ask Harvest to build and operate a total of 450,000 gallons of LNG per day.
But 150 is where they're going first.
Correct.
It's the first train.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not, unless other things happen, we're not going to need the 150 to begin with. So
that'll be well in excess of where you're at the supply right now. Yeah.
Correct.
Good.
To room for growth. Just for the listening public who may not know, so just on the trucking component, again, historically, you will have owned the trailers and contracted the bulk of the driving, the haulage. And so that's a model you'd like to replicate if possible.
That is correct. We always like to say so. Back when we were looking at our contractors, our mechanical contractors, and whether or not contractors are available, we always said we're not in the business of doing whatever thing there is in this situation, the trucking, but we will do it if it serves our secondary, if it's a secondary purpose to our business. So if we can't find a different way to do it reasonably, we will take it on, but that is not our core mission. So we prefer to contract it out as long as it's reasonable, and we continue being able to have our mission of supplying natural gas to the most people as possible at the lowest cost possible.
And I guess finally, again, you mentioned you intend to you're going to have a backup LNG production facility. The Big Lake facility will still be physically present.
We will, yes.
Yeah, groovy.
And we'll have staff there, and it'll be in warm status. Okay, this is kind of a fun update, but after several years of not being able to do it, we have had our LNG fire training. So we have invited all of the local fire departments who you don't very often get to put out a live LNG fire. So we've invited Texas A&M, who provided a 2-part training that included classroom instruction on the natural gas and LNG characteristics, thank you. And then we to our staff participated, that is me all the way there on the right in the biggest fire suit that they had, but it was a good way to both create and deepen our relationships with the local fire departments and provide a training that is we hope they will never need.
Regarding, has the PFAS issue impacted you all at all, or will it?
We've never used foam.
It's not necessary for,
It's one means that can be used for, in certain circumstances, for LNG fire suppression. What they've done in certain circumstances, is have foam where it go over an LNG spill and it reduces the vaporization rate, and it basically can extinguish the flame because it creates a barrier, but we've never used the foam in our services.
because it seems to be a real issue for certainly the aviation industry.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Marianne Pease has a question for Dan. Since the trailers will be used on the Hall Road, are there any special hardening characteristics needed for this transport?
Nothing, I would say extremely special, although the chassis, etc., will all be air ride. The inner supports between the outer vessel and the inner vessel will all be designed to take into account the fact that they are hauling on a gravel road. But for the most part, the trailers remain similar to any other. There's a few little things that choices that you make as far as longevity, the types of brakes, disc brakes versus drum brakes, etc. That you know, we'll tailor our design based on some of the work we did with. We have 4 units that we had purchased with the Hall Road in mind previously. And you know, there's been a substantial amount of fuel hauling that goes on the Hall Road. So a lot of the transport companies have a great deal of experience with things that work and don't work. So
Have you said how many trailers it's gonna take? No, so we said that had to be bigger.
I don't think you said. But
I didn't. So originally, our original purchase, we're targeting about 15 trailers. And to begin with, we're targeting about 6 trailers going each way per day. As our demand increases, we are going to add trailers.
each trailer holds about 1,000 MCF of capacity.
Okay,
About 1,500 gallons. About 1,000 MCF.
you can do those gallons to cubic feet conversion in your head now.
Mhm.
Probably in his sleep too.
At one point, I could do the metric to imperial also, but I lost that one.
All right, well, I am getting to the end of my presentation here with my very typical call 811 before you dig. 811 is a free service by the state of Alaska. If you call 811, all of the utilities will come and mark their underground buried facilities, and everybody will have a safe construction season. And I am at the question portion.
All right. Well, I would open up the floor to questions. I'd be shocked if there weren't any. So let's see. Okay.
Did you evaluate the use of B trains for the trailers? We are not able to evaluate that because we can't do that in Alaska. So go ahead.
No, not just the Dalton Highway. There are highways in Alaska where B trains are allowed.
What's a B train?
Double trailer.
Oh, okay. Not the pups.
It's a similar idea, whether it's a pup or
Or a full.
Yeah, a B train is like 2 trailers, a pup is a bigger trailer in the front, smaller in the back. But doubles aren't allowed on the high road to our knowledge, so no.
Now, there had been discussion, or you all had considered, for some time, non-diesel based trucks, trailers. But the technology wasn't there at the time. We're still a little ways out.
You want me to?
Okay, go ahead.
We do have 2 LNG powered tractors that we currently own and try to operate as much as possible. They haven't been particularly reliable. That design, it's called a high pressure direct injection. So it uses diesel for ignition and directs the injects the gas in at high pressure. Still has all the diesel the diesel particulate filters, etc., and they just have problems, and so the reliability is not great. There is an engine being developed right now by Cummins called it's a 15-liter spark natural gas engine that is about 500 horsepower. The other ones previously have been 12-liter spark ignited, and the horsepower is just not there for the haul road. So we're watching that one closely, and to the extent that those engines get into full production and look like they're a potential, we may be able to utilize natural gas powered units on that route. So we do have 2 fueling stations right now, one in Big Lake and one in Fairbanks for LNG fueling of tractors. So we're hopeful that those engines will be in full production and prove to be reliable. The 12-liter ones are widely used, particularly in refuse and things like that, and have proven to be quite reliable. They don't have all of the additional diesel particulate filters, etc., because they're straight natural gas.
Natural gas. Rep. Tomaszewski, I see you've taken yourself or turned your video on. Did you have a question, sir?
Actually, yes, thanks. So I know there's been recent scrutiny over other hauling projects in the state. What are you guys doing to coordinate with school bus stops?
We have not had any particular coordination with school bus stops, given the majority of our route is on the Dalton Highway, and then it'll come down the Johansson straight down Pegger to our facility. I'm not aware of any significant school bus stop routes on that route. Our number of units are significantly below the other project that I think you're referring to, and more consistent with existing highway use. So we don't view that as a direct comparable, I guess.
Oh yeah, I actually rode the bus off the Elliott Highway for many years, so they'd be going right by my old bus stop. So that was just a question, not too much of a concern. I'm sure there's a safe plan for the hauling route here.
Yeah, and that LNG fire training that Elena mentioned is one of the things we do to make sure we're coordinating with not only our local fire department, but we had fire departments that participated from the volunteer fire departments on the Parks Highway. And so we get a great deal of participation in that and coordination with those entities, and we'll look to do that as we finalize our efforts here.
Elena, how much of the construction anticipated this year is going to be out in North Pole? Do you see the split between what's in town and what's out there?
Yeah, it's about a quarter in North Pole. As of for the applications that I have now, there are 337 in Fairbanks and 119 in North Pole. Last year we had about 1/3 of it in North Pole. This year it's looking at like about a quarter.
So is that a bigger number than last year, fewer?
It's fewer than last year in North Pole as of right now.
Thanks.
Generally speaking, well, I guess there's no generally speaking, this is all fairly new. But as far as timing of applications, people, it's late in the season. I'm always thinking about transition over to natural gas. Do you all usually have that stuff kind of lined up this early in the season, like all the way up to the 600, or does it kind of you get a big rush of pre-applications and then you pick up along the during the summer season?
We always want the applications early because we need to apply for permits. We need to do site surveys to at everybody's individual home or business so that we can determine where the meter goes, what other utilities they have buried, where their fuel tank is, and so forth. So we prefer to get them early. Last year, we stopped accepting applications for last year's construction season on August 2nd. We would be it would be complicated to accept any past August 15th, just because we don't usually install into October. But this year we are ahead with how many applications we're seeing early. We do not anticipate any issues getting to the 600 number, and we will have a wait list if the past is any indicator of future success. So I guess the message here is the utility is going strong in our ability to achieve our goals. And the secondary message is that if anybody wants natural gas, they should apply now.
Got it. So I need to get off the bubble. All right. Again, I would open up the floor to questions. Rep. Tomaszewski, do you have anything further?
Oh, I was one of those applicants. I think I signed up last year, but unfortunately, I might fall a little further outside of what's anticipated being able to happen this year. So I'll keep waiting and hoping.
Well, I'll tell you what we're doing with that. We have a really handy map where every application that we were unable to commit to that particular year is a red dot on our map. And that is how we determine where we go with mainline extensions. So when in the future years, maybe there's a bigger bubble in a particular neighborhood that is reasonably close to our mainline extensions. We do spend about $1 million a year in those mainline extensions. Now, in the latest targeted airshed grant, that took a different turn, where the application took a different turn this year. So the borough and DC applied for the full grant amount, which is $10 million, of which about $4 million, should that grant get approved, will go towards mainline extensions.
Oh.
And so that would increase our available funds and our ability to go towards areas that are further away from our core, or even the infill that we are currently unable to do because of funding.
How do you decide which lines to expand?
We have a mainline extension committee, and so in that we evaluate the number of customers, the expected future use, and the total cost. It goes through our engineering process where our engineers draw it out and calculate an estimated cost. And then our mainline extension committee, which is an internal committee, makes those decisions on a case-by-case basis.
So there are a couple of maps on your website that show your existing pipes. Might I pull that up?
Sure. So what Jim was talking about is that on our website, there is it's a general map of, it's a GIS map essentially that shows where our piping is. And it's rather easy for someone to determine if they have natural gas availability by just inputting an address, much like they would. Oh, no, if you go under new customers.
Under new customers?
Yeah, and service map.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, and it's you.
That's my actual site survey when I got natural gas to my house.
We're gonna start sharing.
So If you go to one on the, well, whichever one it is.
Wow, you go drive. Everybody can see the website. And by the way, again, that map that we were looking at was under new customer tab.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up our home office now, which is 2525 Phillips Field Road. So as you can see, I just typed in the address. It showed me where the location is, and all of these yellow, this yellow is a main line of IGUs. So clearly this building has natural gas availability. And that is here for Fairbanks and for North Pole. This is a really good example of the power of the numbers. So as you can look at the map, you can see this rather odd branch that goes up here. So we had a gentleman who really wanted natural gas 2 years ago, I think this was. And we told him, well, we're sorry, we need more consumer interest. And he went from house to house and has solicited his neighbors. This is Flight Street in North Pole. And because the numbers made it reasonable for Interior Gas Utility to extend this main line, we have many customers along this route. We have made that investment because there were many on this route that were interested.
And that's pretty standard, I would say, when you say for kind of utility extensions, you have to have some level of critical mass.
Yep.
To justify both the capital investment for the infrastructure, based on, revenues you're gonna get from the operations.
Right.
Okay, but that's new. I mean, historically, the 2014 installation went there to, what road is that? Hurst Road?
First.
So that jumped right out at me.
So with part of the targeted airshed grant being for mainline extension, is there any thought about trying to push the main lines? And I'm thinking again about North Pole and thinking all in about what the EPA is going to do to us in November. Is there any thought about extending the main line into kind of the core problem areas, right? So there's nothing on Badger Road there, for example. I don't know if that might be an area that.
Well, I pointed out, so when the EPA administrator came up, they said that, they were thinking about ways to quote unquote help us. And one of them was the construction of storage for ultra low sulfur diesel. I put together a composite map based on an image of the worst air quality zone in North Pole with the existing IGU pipes as I knew them. The one up to Plaque Road I didn't know about until just now. But just to show them that the existing pipes bifurcated what's called the trapezoid of death, the worst air quality zone in North Pole, and asked them if they might consider a different investment, which would be helping the IGU extend those pipes to cover the rest of the worst of the air quality zone.
Where is that zone if you look at this map?
Here, really up to Plaque Road.
Okay, it's not off to the left.
I could probably find the graphic I made
Oh, that's all right.
at the time. Again, this may have changed. I want to say that the image I had found was from 2012.
No, I was just trying to understand the
Yeah.
process. So if there's money coming to help the problem,
How do you deploy it?
how directly does it get into the problem?
Sure. So in order for the EPA, the targeted airshed grants strings attached, if you will, are that we go under to environmental justice areas that are within our the non attainment area. And so that has a very wide meaning because environmental justice has many different criteria to it, such as minorities and low income and population of older and very young people and so forth. Now, $4 million will pay for about 16 miles of mainline extension. That depends on site conditions. So there isn't any specific target that we will install specifically in that area. But interestingly enough, if you look at my bubble map, which I don't have today, this area right here is a high concentration of consumer interest. much like, say, downtown Fairbanks is, and there's many pockets, but this pocket specifically is something that I anticipate will look really close at, just because of how much certified and known consumer interest there is. We will do reach out to the community to find out where the most interest is, because as I'm sure everybody understands, our blank installation of pipe does not necessarily mean emission reduction without having those customers commit.
It is a priority of ours to connect our two systems as well, so a loop around Badger Road is something we're continuously looking at, as well as looking at additional opportunities for funding. There's several available programs, and so we're work closely with the Fairbanks North Star Borough on trying to identify opportunities for funding that might work.
Okay,
Interesting. Thanks.
please. Mr. Chairman. I was just about to pull up the participants and check. Do we have any, again, I'm opening up the floor. Any questions online at this point? Oh, come on, guys. All right, please, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. I can far and away, I can tell you when people talk to me about IGU, the first question is, when do I get my gas? And so I send them to our website. So far and away, which is good. The question I want to ask for the record, Elena, just so we have a sense of the haul from our big tank at Trier Road in South Cushman to the LNG plant on the North Slope, what is the highway mileage for that haul one way?
It's about 24 hours there and back, but it's
500 miles.
500 miles.
500 miles. So at any one time, given current demand, we would have 12 trucks on the road, 6 empty, 6 full, spread over 500 miles. That's correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just so we have a sense of that distance.
At full demand of the first train, that would be 12 trucks per day.
Each way?
Each way, yeah. So the 12 trucks would be 150,000 gallons a day. 6 trucks would be 75,000 gallons a day.
And so 24,
Yeah.
speaking of, say 5 years from now, 24 trucks spread over 500 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
7 years from.
Okay, Mr. Latcham, I thought I had seen that you brought yourself off of mute.
Well, I did, and I texted or chatted a question about if the North Slope, once you're onto the North Slope supply, is there going to be a difference in price to the burner chip on, say, a residential user? Is this going to be neutral, or is it going to be a cheaper or more expensive?
The one thing that is still, we don't have a price tag on is the trucking. So we can't say with any certainty, but the gas feed is significantly cheaper. The liquefaction, because we're outsourcing it, is going to be more expensive, and then the trucking is the remaining question. However, we have modeled different price points for trucking, and our models were developed based on informal quotes that we have gotten from trucking companies, and based on those, any price increase, if any, will be really modest. Now, with our ability to continue adding new customers and spreading fixed cost over a bigger population, our mission and our what we're working towards is stability in prices where pricing decrease.
Follow up?
I think it deserves mentioning that the 20+10 contracts that LNG has signed, we know, looking out what our feedstock is going to be. So it isn't going to go up and down, up and down. We know based on the agreement that we're going to increase, help me here, 2% a year over the next 10 years. So that is essentially fixed, so we can build off of that.
Predictability.
Now, that increase that Mr. Chairman is mentioning is the increase to IGU, not necessarily an increase that we would pass on to our customers.
Thank you.
This is neat. I like these maps.
Thank you.
Mhm. I do. And again, just to remind everyone, this was found on the IGU's website under the new customer tab. And it gives you the ability to, you know where you live, to go ahead and check and see how close those pipes are. Either that they're already installed within, reasonable distance to your home, or you can have some level of understanding of where you are relative to the installed infrastructure, which is neat. All right. Again, I would open up the floor to questions. All right, we're not taking any bites, not getting any bites. Well, again, just it's always neat to have the IGU come in. Thank you all so much, as always, for coming. It's neat to hear about the resources that are available to help us use this gas. Both on a line extension basis, the fact that you now have a little bit of extra resource for those line extensions above what you were already budgeting, but also, again, these substantial amount of assistance to help people actually use the gas. I would ask, because of this additional capacity on the North Slope, the IGU has never had, nor FNG, Fairbanks as its sole customer. You all actually had a customer along the route, if I'm not mistaken. What would be the possibilities of expanded use of this gas? I mean, part of the dream was that, again, this would kind of start in Fairbanks. There are a lot of other communities that are also challenged by high-priced distillate fuels, and this system being able to maybe assist with further gas sales and utilization.
Sure. So the customer that Jim was talking about is Talkeetna. We have one customer in Talkeetna, which is Talkeetna Lodge, and we have been supplying them with natural gas for about 20 years now. We have a small storage and vaporization facility there, and we bring them LNG on the way to Fairbanks or directly to them. The beautiful part about this contract is the fact that IGU does have full rights to the capacity for up to 450,000 gallons. And there's always more capacity for new customers, to include customers in the interior and customers that are outside of the interior. So if you can be trucked there, then you can get there. The other thing that we get questions on a lot is, well, what happens with your 20-year contract if there's a pipeline coming in between now and the expiration of that contract? And that is exactly our answer to those questions, is that there are many communities that the pipeline will not reach that can benefit from LNG and as a cheaper fuel to fuel their communities.
So we've got a lot to do just to serve the commitments we've made in our own community, but as you mentioned, Jomo, we're always sort of thinking about other areas that might benefit from the supply. So we did a project in Tok at one point where Tok converted one of their diesel engines for power generation, where we utilized LNG for that for a period of time. That opportunity could, at that point, prices of oil dropped dramatically, so it kind of stalled out for a period of time. But with oil prices higher, there's the drivers behind those desires to convert will be there, and so there's potential for those things. We've talked to individuals in Talkeetna about expanding that system so that the rest of the community could benefit, etc. So Talkeetna will either be served from, I'll just answer Ray's question since it's up there right now, either be served out of Point McKenzie or North Slope, but most likely from the North Slope. It won't make sense to start up the Point McKenzie plant for a small batch, so that we'll just continue down the highway for the Telke then.
How long do you have remaining on the contract out of the Cook Inlet?
The contract remains intact till 2032. There is a clause in our North Slope contract with Hillcorp that eliminates both of our volume commitments after the North Slope plant has been in operation for a period of a year. There is some requirements that if
So you're not getting stuck in a,
we don't get
Big
stuck
picture.
having to make minimum payments on a contract in the Cook Inlet from having minimum commitments in the North Slope. Should there be a need for us to run the Point McKenzie plant because of a failure in the North Slope, then Hillcorp has to use best commercial efforts to provide us the gas to do so during those periods.
so north-south security of supply. What a nice position to be in for a community for a change. Okay.
Well, not only that, since the Cook Inlet announcement, since all of the bells are ringing that there aren't any promises that new contracts will be signed in the Cook Inlet past their current expiration dates, which are as soon as next year. Interior Gas Utility is, to our knowledge, the first utility that sources natural gas from the Cook Inlet to have found a permanent, long-term, stable solution. So we are really proud of that achievement.
Okay. I would open up the floor to questions. Okay. Well, all right. Well, then seeing none, I'm ever curious, so I don't lob out too many more left pages. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much again. Thank you very much, IGU. Everybody online, tell your friends. Again, they are still accepting applications. We'll be doing so through, let's give ourselves some safety, through the top of August. But of course, the sooner you can get your application in, the greater surety you have of having a cleaner, more predictable alternative to your oil this winter, and cleaner than your wood stove by a long shot. Well, all right, everybody. I don't have anything particularly lined up for next week, but we'll let you know as if I can pull something together. Otherwise, just have a great rest of your day, great weekend. And I see, actually, hold on, before we go, I do see that JHK has pulled themselves off of mute. Go ahead, John.
I was actually just going to thank you and IGU for your time this morning. Elena, well done. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right. Well, we will end the recording. Again, thanks a million, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and we will see you soon.